Welcome in, everybody. 11:30 on this Monday morning, getting you set up for your week. I think we're getting you set up for success here, but we're already preparing you for a lot of heat.
Yeah, so warmest temperatures we're expecting tomorrow since last July. So we're just jumping right into summer. We already hit 90 yesterday in Boston.
Kind of crazy.
It kind of gave us a little taste, a little appetizer, and we're going to go even higher over the next couple of days. So we're issuing a little bit of an alert here. Now, normally if it was 94 degrees in, say, August, we probably wouldn't be alerting, but first sort of big heat of the year with some humidity and some storms, I think it all adds up to something that's alert worthy.
It's been really interesting over the past few days to kind of see this heat kind of build in across the country. Needed the jet stream to kind of do what it needed to do, and we also needed the south winds to kind of elevate as well. So as Terry said, yesterday we hit 90 degrees in Boston for the first time this season. We knew it was going to be a sensational day, but temperatures did outperform again yesterday. Currently, we're in the 60s, and we already seem to be marching towards 80 degrees in several locations.
Yeah, so today is sort of the pleasant, and like a lot similar to like Saturday. Very nice day today, except so you see the highs. The warmer inland you go, the warmer the temperatures. We got a little bit of a sea breeze backing in, especially parts of northeastern Massachusetts. But the farther west you go, I say western Mass, parts of Connecticut will be hitting 90 today. So some of those areas may actually get an official 3-day heat wave in western parts of the area. But for the rest of us, it's really just 2 days of heat, and we'll start that off tomorrow. Look at these numbers popping on. That's not May-like readings. Those are not May-like readings.
From where I'm from, it is.
Okay.
You know, we do have to kind of caution everybody here, Terry, as we kind of said at the beginning of this, that this is a little bit earlier in the season. There are a lot of heat-related dangers associated with kind of the first heat waves coming on in. Though we're not expecting a heat wave in Boston, but there will actually be parts of Mass that could actually make that 3-day stretch of a heat wave. So one of the first things that we want to remind everybody is hydration with water.
Yeah, it's going to be relatively humid as well. Not like insane levels that, I think dew points will be mid to upper 60s, which is really the first time we've had that as well this year. So definitely going to feel, this weekend was warm, or you could maybe even call it hot. The next couple of days are going to be a little bit more oppressive, 94, 95 with dew points in the mid to upper 60s. If you're outside for any length of time in the sun, you definitely want to obviously put the lotion on. And like you said, bring a canteen of water or maybe two. Stay hydrated for sure, yeah.
And of course, and also remembering to reapply as well. A lot of us have been enjoying the great outdoors over the past couple of days here. A lot of people have also been doing a lot of yard work as well. So it can kind of creep up on you pretty quickly when you're talking about the heat and also the humidity both combined. Take a look at some of the records that we have posted up here with the forecast as well as what the records will be for tomorrow. Boston 94, Worcester 89. As we look at the record set back in 2017, 90 degrees is the record for Boston, and in Worcester 92 was the record back in the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah, I can't imagine not shattering that in Boston. The only way we miss it is if the winds somehow are a little bit more southerly than southwesterly. But any sort of southwest, west, northwest wind in Boston, we avoid the sea breeze. And it looks like tomorrow is a straight southwest wind. The Worcester thing is weird. So Worcester, the actual thermometer is at the Worcester Airport, which is 1,000 feet up. So if you're in downtown Worcester tomorrow, it's going to be 93, 94. But the official temperature might go down as, say, 89 or 90 tomorrow. So that's why it may not be a record. But sort of just a kind of a weird quirk to Worcester. But we did hit the first 90-degree day actually happened yesterday in Boston. So well ahead of normal. The typical is in early June.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, we were forecasting to have a fairly warm Sunday as well, even leading up until, even the start of the weekend. But even getting Boston to 90 degrees this a little bit early on in the season is something to kind of be celebrated, I think, but it also gives you
depends on your perspective.
Pause to see if that's actually going to happen again, even more so later on in the year.
Looking last year we took till June 19th to hit 90. Yesterday was what, May 17th? Yeah, so almost a month, or more than a month ahead of time, ahead of last year anyways. We average about 15 90-degree days in Boston over the course of the year. You can see, obviously we get spikes up and down as high as, say, the mid-20s. 24 back in 2021, 19 last year. We had a really hot July last year. So where are we going to go this year? We'll see. But my guess is that with El Nino coming on, that could mean, a pretty good amount of heat later in the summer. So But we got 1. We'll certainly get up to 3, I think, pretty easily after this week.
And just if you're curious, you remember in 2023, that was that summer that we had storms every single weekend for about 3 months. So that's why we only had about 5.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're thinking about heading to the beach tomorrow, not a bad place to be. It's going to be a scorcher. Certainly if you go anywhere, Maine coast, New Hampshire coast, or Massachusetts, say North Shore, South Shore, it's going to be in the 90s. A little bit breezy though. Winds probably 15, 20, 25 out of the southwest. If you want the relief, you need to go down to, say, the south coast beaches, Cape and the Islands, where the wind off the water there will make it probably 20 degrees or so cooler. But I think the beach, I mean, a lot of people will be working, but I think the beaches are going to be pretty busy the next couple of days.
Our first beach forecast of 2026.
Look at that.
I know, it's extremely exciting. Yes, don't call out of work. There still will be a time enough for you to get to the beach here, friends. Of course, we still have a lot of pretty warm temperatures expected in the days ahead here. But if you are a boater, or if you just love to, kind of get yourselves out on the water as well, notice the high tide readings as well, and what's projected to be in terms of wind and also the wave heights over the next few days.
Yeah, I mean, it is the week leading into Memorial Day weekend, so I feel like this is a typical time where folks start to think about the boat and the beach, and if you're lucky enough to have a boat or you have a lake house, you're opening it up, and it's a big weekend coming up, and we'll get to that forecast in just a bit. But so Wednesday, I do think we have a great shot at hitting 90 again. I think the big question on Wednesday is how fast do the clouds and potential thunderstorms come in. Obviously, that might if they come in sooner, better chance that we're 90 or upper 80s. If we get a little later in the day, we get more sunshine, we could easily spike into the mid-90s again. So either way, it's hot and humid again.
Yeah, and this is always very interesting, and I always tell viewers too, this is a time where you can actually really become a part of the weather conversation here, because it makes a big difference between clouds and also sunshine when you're talking about severe weather, or you're talking about having a temperature marker besting a record, or at least getting really close to a record. So clouds do factor in, as well as Terry saying, the wind direction and even wind speed also factor in.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be mighty close to another record on Wednesday. 91 is the current record, and we should be pretty close to that. So we could easily get 2 days in a row of records here in Boston. Now, obviously, we have all this heat, and then we're going to get cooler later in the week. So there's we need a pretty big storm system or a front to come through to give us all these changes. Tomorrow looks like maybe could just be a pop-up shower, thunderstorm. Nothing major tomorrow. It's really Wednesday that has the better chance of perhaps even a few severe storms.
Absolutely. There's that frontal boundary beginning to kind of march through the area as well. So we'll be on the north side of it as well, but we can expect that we'll at least have some gusty winds moving through with us as well. But again, everything will be dependent on cloud cover, if we have little, if we had more, or just the orientation of the front could actually slow down, because the farther away we get from the peak heat hours of the day will also have an influence on how strong some of these post storms will be once they start moving into the area.
Yeah, so big severe weather outbreak possible today and parts of tomorrow in the Midwest. We're not going to get into any of that. It's sort of we're on the sort of edge of the severe. This is the SPC's outlook. Sort of on the edge on Tuesday. It's more so Wednesday here, and you can say right now they just have us in sort of a marginal risk. I would assume that as we get closer, they may bump that up a tad. But again, we're not expecting any, sort of widespread, real severe stuff here Wednesday, but maybe a severe cell or two with, like you said, some gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail. We'll see, but nothing major. But the dew points again will be juicy over the next couple of days, and then they just drop off the scale Thursday, Friday. That front, if nothing else, cools us off and really dries us out.
I mean, those may be the days that you call out.
There you go.
It's a nice, really comfortable finish to the week, friends. Thursday and Friday will be magnificent. I've pulled our temperatures back in the upper 60s both days, but still it is seasonal for this time of year before we start to kind of eye a few more showers threatening the upcoming weekend. But notice a decline in terms of temperatures. So we're expected to peak at the top of the roller coaster over the next 24 to 36 hours here. And then we noticeably start scaling back. But again, things could get bumpy on Wednesday evening.
Yeah, so if you have the flexibility to sort of, obviously Memorial Weekend coming up, if you have the flexibility to, say, choose a couple days on either side of the weekend to take off, I say take Thursday, Friday instead of you're probably off Monday anyways, but as far as the weather goes, Thursday and Friday look really nice. I mean, like you've got there 65 to 70, dry air, really comfortable. The later we get into the weekend, and we'll show this in a second, and even on Monday, I feel like it just gets a little bumpy. Like there's a chance of some storminess, some rain. It's, you know, it's going to take a few days for us to sort of hash it all out, but definitely looks better earlier on than later on as far as the upcoming weekend goes. And here's sort of a quick look. The essence of it all is there's going to be high pressure just off to our east this weekend and a lot of wet weather to our south and west. So certainly parts of New York State, from Philadelphia down to D.C., going to get wet here Friday into parts of Saturday. The question is, does that just continue moving northeast and overcome New England, and we get rain here later Saturday and Sunday? Or does that high hold strong, which I just was looking at some of the AI models, and they actually have that high pressure holding pretty strong, and it's like a shield for us to the rain, and the rain just sort of stays right about where it is there. So a lot to be determined there. I think Saturday has a decent shot, especially if you're up towards New Hampshire and Maine, of staying dry. We'll see how it all evolves, though. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, too, as you mentioned, Terry. So, you know, usually I try to kind of incorporate some just lay knowledge about pressure systems, so that clockwise flow of that high pressure will kind of help to steer, as Terry has mentioned, on Saturday afternoon, a lot of that heavy rain back towards the Pennsylvania, maybe even Ohio border as well. The timeline, again, is key. This is the unofficial start to summer, the first quote-unquote summer holiday. So I know a lot of people are going to be traveling. AAA is probably going to be pulling in some data that we'll be reporting on later on in the week. So that Saturday, Sunday, even Monday time frame for automobile travel is certainly going to be key. Yeah. So this is just a sort of early thought on Saturday and Sunday, at least. The farther north and east you go in New England, up into Maine, parts of maybe the White Mountains, the better chance of staying dry and sunny. The farther south and west you go, certainly into parts of Connecticut or Long Island, down to Jersey, the better chance of getting wet. Now, this will be adjusted. It's only Monday. It's a ways off. We're hoping if we have to adjust it, it's not to move the rain all the way up into New England. It's the other way. But needless to say, stay tuned. As always, the Memorial Weekend forecast is never simple. I feel like Memorial Weekend is always a trick to it. It's never just a high sitting on top of you. No. There's always like, maybe rain here, you know. But if you're a New Englander, you just kind of, I'm sure you're used to it. You expect it, and you know that's coming. So. So here's J7 day. Again, a couple of really hot days, and then, well, we'll have to see about that weekend.
We'll have to see about the weekend. Absolutely. Before we send you guys away, again, an added reminder about the air quality. We'll possibly get, you know, some sort of briefing on the air quality of the next couple days, courtesy of the heat. Remember the sunscreen as well. Remember to hydrate with water. And also, this is all the more reason to tune in each and every day leading up to the holiday come Monday, because we not only have storms, we also have heat. We also have travel that could also be impacted as well for the upcoming weekend. Yeah, all good points. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And Jay will be back tomorrow morning to give you the latest on what's probably going to be a record-setting day in Boston tomorrow. We'll be here dark and early, starting at 5. See you later, everybody. Have a great day.